This week on the RC Shop, we finish up the motor for the vintage Gremlin build. But before we get started, let's take a look at where we finished up last time. We've made good progress so far. We've got a functioning chassis, suspension, and transmission, but we still have a ways to go. And to light a fire under the shop's backside, I've set a completion date of April 24th. So why April 24th? So we can unveil it at the Texas Crawfest Show and Shine. That show's happening April 24th here in Texas, and I really would like to unveil it at that show. But it's become a little iffy whether or not that show's gonna happen or not with what's going on in the world right now. But I'm gonna leave April 24th as a hard date to get this project finished. With that said, we've got an engine bay that needs filled. And we're gonna fill that empty engine bay with a small block V8. What? Sorry guys, what do you want, Frank? Can you break for coffee? We just got started for the day. Yeah, okay, whatever. Maybe it'll get you moving a little quicker and you'll actually get something done for today. Okay, back to what we were doing before we were interrupted. We got to get all the parts for this motor cleaned up and installed. And I think what I'll do is I'll walk you through that process using the driver's side header as an example. Needs a good bit of cleanup, and I'll start with an X-Acto knife, moving on to sanding and body filler. The header is just an example of one of the parts. What is going on? Frank, put the coffee down. I think you may have had enough. As I was saying, the header is just one example of the parts that are going to be going on this engine block. Every part is going to need a ton of attention and work before we can install them on the engine block. And speaking of that engine block, I had the paint shop go ahead and spray it with the color green we're going to be using on the body. And we very carefully had to sand some of that paint off before we can install things like the intake. CA glue does the job well. Just make sure you're gluing plastic to plastic and not to a painted surface. I also wanted to point out the great job the Fab Shop did on a custom set of CCG valve covers. These valve covers are amazing, but they do pose a new problem when it comes to cleaning them up before paint. I can't just fill the recessed areas with spot filler like we've done before. I would lose all the detail in the lettering. The best option is to load them up with a heavy coat of filler primer. This will save the details in the lettering and a ton of time. The paint shop gives them a coat of silver paint and use some black wash to bring out the details. I think they look pretty good. Now it's just a matter of gluing them on, and I want to repeat the point of how important it is that you sand down those painted areas before you glue anything together. Use a medium to heavy grit sandpaper, and be careful, don't sand out indivisible areas, and use a little CA glue, you'll create a very solid bond. Again, every part goes through the same process like you saw with the header before, even the water pump. What was that? Frank, I really think that's enough coffee for today. You're gonna end up breaking something.
Look over at this. I think he ate the whole bag.
He did what? Can somebody please take the coffee away from Frank? He's gonna end up breaking something. Sorry guys, this is really embarrassing for Frank. What? You put on some pants. What? Oh, we're rolling. Next we need to install the, you know what? Just cut it. Just cut it right here. Let's go to commercial. God, just go to commercial. Frickin' Frank. Guys, we've got a real issue out there right now, and it's sweeping across the country, even the world. So no, candidate, you're not even safe. I think it's time I stand up,
Don't stand up,
sit down, and say something about it. Because if somebody doesn't say something, it's just gonna keep spreading. What is this issue that's taking the world by storm, you ask? Let me show you. 85% of you who are watching videos on TandemCTelevision are not subscribed to the channel. Look, it's right here in black and white, and purple. This is a disaster, and look, there's more. Only 23.5% of you who are subscribed rang the bell, and only 18% of you did something else. I don't know, these analytics are confusing. But the point is, only by coming together can we stop this disaster in its track. So if you're not subscribed, go ahead and take a few seconds out of your day and hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, do whatever all that other stuff is. And while you're at it, go ahead and stay indoors and wash your hands. Thank you. Welcome back into the shop, and I think we were about to take a look at the distributor. It's always easier to do different colored parts and pieces. That allows you to paint them separately and then glue them together, like we did here with the distributor. Now it's just a matter of getting everything installed like we've seen before. The motor's coming along well, and I had the guys tie Frank up to the lift, so I don't think we'll have any more interruptions, and we should get this thing finished smoothly. All that's really left are the details, and to me, that's the really fun part, but also the very time-consuming part. And I think I'm gonna start with trying to create some plug wires. I picked up some thin wire used for beading that I think should work. Small drill bits will help me make the bends that I need. Now I'll start the slow, grueling process of shaping all 8 wires. Now I think we just need to get a belt on it and we can drop it in the truck. I've got some thin tubing that I think will work for a belt. I'd really like to use a small rubber band, but I just don't have one at the moment. This tubing will work as a good placeholder. That will work for the moment, but I do think a small rubber band is going to be the final answer. Now it's time to drop the engine into the truck, and I have the guys doing just that. What? What's wrong? Okay, well, show me. Yep, so we have a couple of issues, starting with the bracket the motor needs to mount to doesn't quite drop into place. A bit of the engine block behind the oil pan needs to be removed. No big deal, that's an easy one. More of a problem is the headers are too wide for the shock towers. We've got room to move the shock towers out, but it's going to take some modifications. We could build a new set of headers, which would help with the fitment issue. So if we do one or the other, or most likely both of them, that's going to actually have to wait till next time because we're out of time for now. But let's head out of here with a final look at the motor and a little surprise. See you later.